Hello and welcome back. Another week, some more League lore. I am so excited. As I say every week, I literally edit these and I go, I sound like a broken fucking record because I just say the same thing every week. But I really do mean it. I really enjoy doing the League lore and stuff. It's so interesting. It's so fun. As I keep playing, it's bad, okay? People, it's bad. I'd like to put the word out. I'm maybe slightly addicted to the game, like I already was, but it just keeps getting worse. And I wonder if this ever leaves, or I'm here forever and I'm addicted. I'm a bit worried, but other than that, doing well. I'll give you an update to my progress in the game, because eventually maybe I'll play it and show some footage or some clips, but I still feel really not good at the game. Finally did some ranked. Played that was a nightmare and very scary because not knowing a lot, and they're placements, kind of the way they put you in the placement games and you're not in the right elo feels crazy and weird, because it's I don't know what I still don't know what a ward is. No, I do. I'm joking. But I'm just I don't know any of the characters. Learning slowly. But everyone else is bullying me in the chat, which is, fun time. We love the League community. But yeah, got ranked placed. Got put gold 2. Haven't played much since, kind of just sat there and vibe. I played a couple of games and I have fun, but I love quick play. Quick play is a joy. It is fun, mainly because I'm still trying a lot of new characters. I switch it up a lot. I'm trying a lot. I was trying Aurelion, Soul. I was switching over to mid a bit, playing a bit of Hui. Who else? I played Cassiopeia mid. That was a good time. I've been playing a lot of Nico support, which has been an absolute joy, and Nico's become a bit of a favorite of mine, which is really fun. The tiers and stuff of which characters I like is changing constantly, and the thing that sucks about this game having so many characters is I want to play so many, but you can only play so many games a day because they go for fucking forever, as you would know as League players. But I'm just sitting there I'm playing this character and I love it, but I want to play this one next, and I'm I can't do it all. I feel like one trick in this game would probably be a lot better because I like too many and I can't pick what to go. Anywho, is that all the updates I was doing for my actual game? Oh, I bought a skin from my black market. Is it black market's Valorant, but Riot's the same thing. From my special shop, I didn't want to, but I had to because I was $5, what a steal. So I bought a Lux skin. Yeah, that's what you missed. Other than that, let's talk about the video because I'm already talked way too long. We're going back to Necrit because his videos were so fantastic last week and had so much information, and I was loving it and enjoying it. And I hope you did too. I hope you're vibing our journey together, watching me just be surprised the whole time about how much lore is going on. But there were some comments about different other things that he has and how he delves into more lore, and especially his MMO, about the MMO stuff, been so good for just summing up the lore that we already have. So today we're doing the races and classes of MMO according to lore, and another video of his the Vestaya, Ionia / Santagalo lore, which interests me. Someone did link, but it also interests me, and it's another Necrit video. And then next week I think we will do he had one other video that was about raid bosses, which I'm actually really kind of interested in, and I'd love to think of who's the big bads of the universe, or who could be I don't know. That seems really cool, but that was an hour-long video, so that'll be its own separate by itself. And the only other thing, I've seen a couple of comments. Sorry, I'm A, full of energy, B, we've got a lot to talk about, a lot to catch up on. That's why I put the timestamps. Every video timestamps. You can just skip all this shit, all my crap, and go straight to it if you would like. The only other thing is, I've seen a couple of different comments of people saying, I've seen a lot of like, being like, play the Ruined King event. That could be like a cool thing for me to do and then like show and talk through. Or I think there was a couple like Mage Seeker and different like in-game stuff. Now, I would love to. I'm just dumb and don't know. Is that an event? Does that come every now and then? Because to a new player, well, still semi-new player, the league menu or whatever is very confusing. There's a lot of buttons. Still don't know how to navigate it that well. Don't know if there are hidden events that I don't know where they are, or I can play these random things, or I have to go somewhere special. So if you'd like to see that, do let me know where these things are or if they're available currently, and then I will actually get onto it. Should I Google it? Yes. But you are also beautiful sources of information. Other than that, we should actually just get into it because I'm so sorry I've been talking for so long. Like and subscribe, that would be fantastic. Races and classes, let's go.
Well.
Oh, hello.
I'm back.
Good to see
we
you.
had a look at the World of Riot's MMO, and we talked about how the overall world
and I loved
design
it
has been
so
done for
much.
a few years now. If you have no idea what League's universe is about, I would recommend watching that one first.
And I recommend
But now
watching
we
that
learned about the
video
basics,
too.
We can dive into
Wow.
the other big MMO topic: the playable races and classes.
This would be so cool. I want to know.
They are pretty much done.
Yeah.
Over the years, the lore fleshed out
All the
races
different
of
characters,
Terra.
and this is like will
Now
help
they each
learn
have their
who's
own
who
unique
and who's
story.
what.
In fact, at this point, it feels like we know Riot will not make up a brand new race.
Yeah,
of course, they could
they've got so
always
much to work with.
theoretically do it, but I seriously doubt they would. Because that would be like forcing a new race into the world of Lord of the Rings. It would feel off among all the already established rules.
Yeah, that would be
I strongly
strange.
doubt you wanna put a bunny person next to Aragorn.
No, I think a lot of people would love
allow
that.
Riot to make up new races and make them feel natural. I'll show you their clever system in just a moment.
Okay,
but for
I'd love to know.
Just know that yes, we already know the races of this world.
Yes, we
so
do.
The question
What are
is
they?
Not going to be what
I know a
races
couple.
Riot is going to make up. The question is going to be, from the races that already exist,
Who's gonna be
which
put
ones will be
in?
playable? And perhaps more importantly, how will they be playable?
And
You see,
customization, that
few
would be
years
sick.
back, I released a similar video where we talked about the classes and the races together with TB Skyen. And today,
cool.
I would not recommend you watch that video. Back then, I was
Me
still
talking
clinging
about-
onto the idea that faction-based MMOs were a good idea.
Oh,
it
okay.
worked for WoW, and it worked for my guilty pleasure, WildStar.
Okay.
Unfortunately, what I didn't know is that merely a year later, the idea of faction-based MMOs would crumble to dust. That's
Oh my god,
because
I don't keep up with the
factions have a
MMO
massive
scene.
flaw. Besides the fact that PvP is almost guaranteed to be one-sided. I mean, who would want to play for the losing side? Especially if there is no compensation. Classic
True.
WoW is a perfect proof of that. Not to mention New World. But also, if you split everyone into two sides, you are splitting up your player base.
And you
that is
make them
almost
fucking
never a
hate
good
each
idea.
other.
You simply don't want to prevent
And the
people from
League
playing
community,
together.
we love
The reason why
our
in the
community
past
here.
it worked for WoW
In
is
game,
because Blizzard
already
heavily
mean as
played
hell.
into the
Oh my
faction
god.
pride. People were proud
The amount
to
of
fight for the Horde
abuse
or
I've
the
gotten in
Alliance.
team chat.
But even back then, it really wasn't perfect. And then people started min-maxing the game and they realized that factions didn't matter. And that's where Riot has the edge.
Okay,
You may
amazing.
know that League of Legends has a lot of different regions, where they all act independently and they all have unique relationships with their neighbors. Because of this, forcing faction alliances into this world would ruin the already established lore.
Oh, that makes so much
PvP
sense. Yes, I didn't even
factions
think
are
about that.
most likely not going to be a thing. However, despite
However?
that, League absolutely has faction pride.
Yeah.
People love it when a new Shuriman champion is announced because people love that place. And people
Yes.
love it when the new champion
Is
is
Ionian?
not Ionian because
Oh.
goddamn we have too many Ionians.
Oh, really? Is that
Nearly
where everyone's
every
from?
League of Legends
Okay.
player has a favorite region.
I was just
And
happy
you
I
bet
recognized
when
the
MMO
place.
comes out, people will want to play for that region. And
Yeah,
this
it's
is
like your
where
starting
the brilliance
place.
of Riot's world kicks in.
It's
You
what
see,
race
the
you pick.
fundamental
It's what
lore
I
of
do when
League of
I
Legends
start a
is
new
based
character
around the
in Elder
idea
Scrolls
that
Online.
anyone can be from any region. After an event the story refers to as the Westward Migration, races mixed up all around the world. So it's not like there is a furry region where you can only see furries.
Yeah,
There
they were
are
everywhere.
definitely regions where you can see more furries, but this world doesn't have exclusives. This means that when you're picking up what you want to play, besides just picking a race and a class combination,
Yeah.
I strongly suggest Riot also allows people to pick their origin, with
that's
the origin
cool.
being the starting region.
Yes,
Without
I
a system
agree.
like this, you would force all human champions to be, for example, Noxian. And that is simply not how this world works.
Choose where you go. That's really good.
So,
I
I've
hope
remembered
Riot
about
watch
how
his
this world
videos.
works for
Wow,
quite
these
a
are so
while.
good.
So now, let's actually dive into all the races that exist in this
Let's talk
universe.
about it.
Spoiler alert, League
Spoiler.
doesn't have too many different races.
That's
because
fine.
it's
They got a lot
focusing
of
on
different
depth
characters
over
too.
variety. Of course, as with any RPG,
Sorry.
there is the human race. But it would be cool if the humans varied depending on their origins. For example, if you pick a human from the Freljord, they would be an Iceborn and they would have extra frost resistance.
Oh, that would be
a
cool.
Demacian could have a bit more magic resistance.
Yeah.
Ionians
And be
could
a
have a bit more
racist.
nature resistance, Shuriman's heat resistance, and so on. I think it's
Okay,
going to be
that's
crucial
really
for
cool.
Riot to preserve the feeling of every origin feeling at least slightly different.
Yeah.
This is
Depending
an RPG
where you come
after
from.
all, and despite the fact
What would
that
Zorn have?
balancing is
Poison
usually a
resist
big
because it's so
issue,
smuggy?
I strongly believe these RPG elements have to be preserved. But if Riot is afraid of people min-maxing the game from the very beginning, focusing on the origin stat with the most value, Riot can always do the safe thing and only give each origin different customization. In the Freljord, people tend to be more pale with lush beards and Nordic tattoos all over their bodies. Shurimans have the classic dreadlock style. People from Bilgewater have the pirate crew tattoos. Piltovans are your fancy moustache
they've got
people,
tentacles
and Ionians
everywhere.
have the wild, untamed hair and beards. So even without special origin stats, I do believe these unique character customizations would enhance
and like what
the
you
region
like what
price too.
starting place
So,
would depend what
that's
like
what
you'd
humans
look
would
like
be
and what
about.
like
Pretty versatile
you'd be
and
wearing
nothing
too.
too
Starting
special
gear.
in an RPG world. So now, let's have a look at the more unique races.
I hope you'd be able to go
humans,
anywhere
the second
too.
most spread out race are the Vastaya.
The
As we
Vastaya.
mentioned in the last video.
Oh,
the
which we're
Vastaya
gonna
are
watch
a race
next.
That came to be after humans started mating with magical animals.
Oh,
But the thing is, depending
interesting.
on where they are from, there are loads of different kinds of Vastaya.
Yeah.
From cat boys to
Cat
fox
boys.
girls to lizard girls. In
Nico!
fact, here's
Oh,
a family tree
my love,
of all
I
the
love
Vastayan
her.
tribes, and even this doesn't cover all of them. And this is where Riot can pull off something genius. As I said,
could just
this
add so
world
many
already
random
has set
ones.
rules. So it would be very difficult to introduce
Oh.
a brand new race into this universe.
Yeah, but you
However,
can have so many
it is
animal
going to be
people.
very easy to just make up a new Vastayan tribe.
Yeah,
so I
that's
propose
cool.
that Riot doesn't make the Vastaya as a playable race overall, but instead it would be cool
Different
if Riot let
tribes.
the specific tribes to be playable races.
That's cool. And it's
This would
also
leave
hard
the
to do
door
too many
open for
different
them
like
to introduce
animal
new
people.
playable races later down the line. If they cross off all the Vastaya at once, they kinda shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah,
but
they
I
have
know.
so,
Here I go
like,
mumbling about how the world
So
works.
many places
So
to
let's
go
have a look
during
at
that.
some of the specific tribes.
Because you could
When
release
I say
DLC
Vastaya,
with different
most
animal
think
people.
Of Ari. She comes from the Vasani that look like foxes. Although
The
her tribe
Vasani.
is mostly gone, the lore can justify new members to be found, so they can be playable. The Kilash tribe comes from the jungles between
Kilash.
Shurima and Ishtal. These lion-like people are known for hunting
That's-
dangerous
I feel like so
beasts,
many people would
and
love
they
that
take
playable
great
race.
pride in trophy collecting. It's the average mount collector. The
Yeah,
Shimon
so
tribe
cool.
are monkey-like people from Ionia. While their older members are very wise, their
Ooh.
younger members can be very
Oh.
goofy.
Wukong,
The
okay.
Otrani come from Mount Targon, resembling the classic goat people.
Oh,
Their
goat
hobbies
people.
are
Oh, they're
taking
cool
care of
as.
the stellar corns.
Do we
The
have any
Wolfland
goat
tribe are Ionians who
champions?
resemble bird people. This
Bird
tribe
people?
likes to combine the art of dancing with lethal assassinations.
Oh,
The
love that.
Ubikat are something close to lizards.
Yes,
Though
we
they
love
do
Nico.
have the ability to shapeshift.
Yeah.
Out of all of the other
They're
tribes,
Shoma.
these are
I
the
think that's what it's
closest to their
called.
pure
Helps
blood
them
ancestors.
shapeshift.
And we also technically have the Marai, the fish people
Oh,
whom
the-
I doubt are going to be playable.
Oh no,
Imagine
you could
modeling
add...
boots for them.
You could add a
Now,
whole
these were the
expansion
more
for like an
pure blood
underwater
tribes,
area. That would be
but there are
sick.
many more Vastaya
Or even
who
just like a
don't
place
fit
near the
any of
sea.
these.
Oh
For
my god,
example,
the possibilities
Seth
are endless.
has an Ionian Vastayan mother and a Noxian human father.
Oh.
So he doesn't really have a tribe. Long story
Yeah.
short, the Vastaya are an incredibly versatile race and Riot
could
can
do
use
so
them
much
in a
with it.
million different ways. This is where they can really go wild.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
can
it for
only
the Vastaya.
think of the
So
possibilities.
now, let's have a look at the third most
That's it for the
popular.
Messiah, but we're going back
The
into it after
Yordles.
this. The
These
Yordles.
are the classic RPG tiny people. In
Yeah.
League of Legends, people either adore them or hate them. There is no
Well,
in between.
I
Kinda
hate
like those guys.
Teemo. Really
But not
hate
those
Teemo.
guys, everyone hates them. There is no doubt in my mind that Yordles will be playable.
Yeah.
Even though they have an interesting catch. You see, unlike all the other races on Runeterra, Yordles are immortal. They are
That is
essentially
true.
modes of magic that come from a hidden magical realm known as
Could you
Bandle
make
City.
them like
And
half
because
Yordle,
they are
half
made of
human?
magical essence, when they die, we don't really know what happens.
Oh,
But
we don't?
assume they return to the Bandle City and there they respawn. With that said,
Oh.
the lore suggests that maybe Yordles can die, but they just can't die of old age. But let's ignore
Interesting.
that. That's a massive rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So, you know, when it comes to gameplay, at least corpse running is going to make sense for them. Now,
Yeah.
because Yordles are immortal, in most cases,
I
are
reckon they could
always
figure a
happy and
workaround.
cheerful. Even their home realm is very colorful because of that. But then there is also Vex. A
Oh,
Yordle
the
champion
depressed
who has recently
one.
been added into League of Legends,
Yeah.
who gives Yordles an interesting perspective.
Yeah, the emo
You
Yordle.
see, unlike all the other Yordles, Vex hates living.
She wants to
hates
die.
the bright colors and the cheerfulness.
Oh my
You
god.
know, it's
She's
the
not like
average
other
League player.
Yordles, you know what I
So
mean?
Vex is constantly in deep depression and agony.
Oh,
All she
Jesus.
wishes for is to leave this world, but she can't.
Oh, poor
because
Vex.
Yordles can't die. Anyway, just like all the other races, Yordles
God.
can be found all around.
Tristana? Is she a
There is
Yordle?
Poppy in Demacia, Colette in Noxus, Kennen in Ionia, Rumble in Shurima, and so on.
Because
But now,
Tristana,
So
I
far,
hate.
we have only covered
There's
the
a lot of
races,
characters
which
I
I'm
hate.
Pretty sure will launch
I also
if
don't
they know.
understand,
The
and they just
humans,
kill
the
me too
Vastaya,
easily.
And the Yordles are the core of this world.
Oh my
So
God.
now we are diving into the races that still exist in this universe.
Oh.
But it's going to be up to Riot if they make them
Yeah,
playable.
like the Void.
First of all, there are the Minotaurs. The Minotaurs are different
Minotaurs.
from the Vastaya because they don't have magical ancestors. They are just a standalone race. Originally,
Oh,
the
cool.
Minotaurs controlled the mountains south of Noxus. But because Noxus is Noxus,
And
soon
took
they
over
absorbed
everything.
the Minotaurs into their empire. With
I mean,
that
they're
said,
cool,
some
though.
Minotaurs fled the tyranny of Noxus and they joined the other regions. A great
Interesting.
example is Kryl, the Minotaur fighting in the elite armies of Demacia. And yes, the Minotaurs also
Interesting.
have the stereotypical sexy female version of the universe. so they
Sexy
can
cow.
easily be
Love
turned
it.
into a playable race.
Interesting.
Next, in Bilgewater, there is an incredible amount of
Whoa.
weird fishy people.
Fish
A lot of
people.
these could be really cool playable races.
See,
when
just like
Bilgewater
Nami,
gets its
just
expansion.
without the tail,
Although
with legs.
modeling helmets for a hammerhead shark is going to be interesting.
No,
We
you could do it,
also
it's
can't
fine.
forget about the trolls. Previously, I
trolls.
showed you the ice trolls, but there are also the sand trolls.
Sand
and here's an
trolls,
interesting
sick.
fact
I wanna
for
see
League
some.
veterans. We have never seen a sand troll, but because
Ever?
of Ezreal's adventures, we know they exist. They should be around Icathia, which is where Jax is from.
Where
who
Jax is
also
from.
has 3 fingers, by the way. So
Do
it
we
is
think he's a
extremely
sand
likely
troll?
that the mysterious Jax is a sand troll.
Oh, that's cool.
Regardless, the majority of trolls are united under Trump.
I love that we do we still not know what's under his mask?
Who is fighting in the service of Lysandra, who is a baddie even though she is morally right. So since
Okay.
the majority of the trolls are our enemies, I doubt they will be a playable race. Lastly, let's not forget that this universe also has Yetis. Fun fact,
Yetis,
before
that would
everything
be
got
cool.
frozen, the Yeti civilization was very advanced. They
Really?
even had their own technology based around magic. In fact,
Whoa.
Willem, the Yeti Nunu is riding on, is a hologram from the Yeti technology. But then, as the civilization disappeared,
Really?
the Yetis went a bit more ferocious.
Oh.
So no, they won't be playable either. But that's pretty much it for the races. As I mentioned, there
Interesting.
aren't too many different kinds. But that's
No,
because
but what you
Riot
could
is
do with them
avoiding
is so
mimicking
good.
other RPGs. That's why there are no dwarves or elves here.
Yeah.
Runeterra
Oh
is
my
simply
god,
trying to
hello!
be unique
Yes,
in every
Elder Scrolls
way, and
Online.
so far, it is working. Now, I also have seen some people asking if Darkin will be playable. To which I have to
Ooh.
say,
Expansion.
that's like asking if you can play as a god. The Darkin
Oh.
are a corrupted version of the Ascended God Warriors. A single Darkin can annihilate an army of 1,000. In fact,
Okay,
the
that's
Darkin
true.
known as Aatrox is the only being in existence that managed to kill a celestial god.
Oh,
He
shit.
stabbed someone wielding the power of the aspect of war so hard, the aspect of war died.
Oh shit.
So no, I don't think Darkin will be playable.
Could you
Anyway,
mix
with all the
races with other
covered,
races and be like,
assuming Riot is
that's a
going to
reason
use
why
the
they're not as
origin
strong?
system, this is what the playable races could look like. Humans are versatile, they are everywhere, there is not much to mention
Okay,
there.
yeah.
When it comes to the Vastaya, the common tribes can easily appear in Noxus, Piltover and Bilgewater. These are the regions open to everyone. On the other side, the Vastaya are closely linked to spiritual magic, so you will
Okay.
hardly find one in Demacia,
Yeah,
since
you'd have
it
a
is
bad
a firmly
time.
anti-magic region. And somehow, not many Vastaya were ever mentioned in the Freljord, so Riot doesn't
Yeah.
have to force them there.
The animals don't seem
But
like they
then
like
we
the
have
cold.
Shurima, Ionia and Targon. Assuming these would be saved for expansions, they could be used to introduce new playable races.
Oh,
Since
that's
I
cool.
doubt all the newcomers remember the names, the Kilash, Lothlan and Otrani are the lion people, bird
Lion,
people
birds,
and
and
goat people.
goats.
When it comes to the
Thank you
Yordles,
for
as I
simplifying
mentioned,
that.
they can originate from anywhere, but they do avoid the Freljord and Targon because of the harsh climates. And
Oh,
yes, I know
okay.
there were some prehistoric Yordles in the Freljord, but after it got covered in ice, they disappeared. And lastly, the Minotaurs can be found in Demacia and Noxus.
Minotaur would be
but
a
it does
sick
make
race.
sense for some of them to flee to the
Like a
Freljord,
warrior
and
class
others
too,
to
or
travel
even
to
like
Ionia during the
shamans.
invasion. With all of this said, remember,
But definitely
this is
like a
just
tank,
my
that's
decently
cool.
educated opinion. Since the races are pretty much mixed up all over Runeterra, Riot could also lift the limitations and let every race start in every region. And I would be
That
fine
would be
with
cool.
that. Some story would be wonky, but it wouldn't be anything horrible.
Yeah, and
Although,
it's for the
I still
game, it's
believe
okay.
Some racial exclusivity helps the feeling of RPGs. So,
Yes.
all of this is still only the first half of the video. If you
Oh
want to
my
take a break
God.
and do your business without washing your hands, now
Oh my god, I didn't even realize I've been having such a good time.
This program will continue in 5 seconds.
Did you wash your hands? Okay, so far
I
we
didn't even
only
get
covered
up.
the races, which was definitely still the easy part. The
Oh,
much,
classes.
much
Yes,
more
I
difficult
forgot. Oh my
part
lord.
Are going to be the classes. This is where Riot is facing a great challenge.
Yes, because
Partially,
everyone's so
it's because
unique.
there are inherently no wrong answers when it comes to designing a class system.
Yeah, and are you just
can
gonna
really
do like
make
the
anything
general
work
ones?
if you put some thought into it.
Like
But more than
assassin,
that, Riot
paladin,
is
warrior,
challenged by the setting
shaman.
itself. League of Legends currently has over 160 different champions.
Yeah.
They each have unique abilities, and together they
Oh,
can
fuck.
define about 40 different classes. I counted
Yeah.
them myself.
Oh my
From
god, you do
these,
so much
Riot
work.
has to
It's
pick only
fantastic.
a handful to be playable, which means the majority of the classes won't make it in, and people who love those classes will be disappointed.
Yeah, everyone's gonna
Thankfully,
be
I'm not
disappointed.
a
It just
designer,
happens.
So instead of trying to figure out how to make this work, I'm going to show you all the cool, unique classes
All?
this universe has.
All 40?
Again,
Hell
because
yeah.
Region pride is a big part of this universe. You'll see that some of these are tied to specific regions. But
Okay.
not the warrior. That one is different in every
Yeah.
single region.
Warrior,
So
warrior's
let's
just
start
your
with
stock
that.
standard.
The
Warrior,
warriors in this
mage.
universe provide a unique challenge on top of the already difficult decisions. It's because in every region, the fantasy of a warrior is represented by something else. In
Yeah.
Demacia, it is the Dauntless Vanguard. These are the classic knights in shining
I
armor
imagine
pursuing
you
justice.
just like, you
In
spawn in
Noxus, the
Demacia, you just
traditional
have to get a
warrior would be
job.
part of the Trifarian Legion, which is a rank you can achieve after killing your best sparring friend in combat.
Oh my
These
lord.
guys rarely use shields. In
That's
Shurima, the classic
sick,
warrior
though.
is the warrior of the Golden Army. These
they
are
look
fighting
cool
for the
too.
glory of the Shuriman Emperor.
That sort of like armor
in
set.
Piltover, you would have the Enforcers. Simply
Oh.
said, it's the cops. People
That's-
will know these from Arcane.
That's
But
more
in a
boring.
way, the Wardens are the melee warriors of Piltover. But then, in the Freljord, warriors are represented by the Berserks, either wielding
Berserks,
axes or
cool.
giant blades as they worship the primal god known as the Iron Boar. On Targon, we have the
Okay.
Warriors of Rakor, which are somewhat themed after the classic Spartan army.
Like gladiators.
Then in Ionia, the classic warrior is known as
samurai?
a blade master, with
Blade
samurai-styled swords that
Okay,
have a
thank
rich
you.
history in this region.
Interesting.
Also, there are the Vuju blade masters, which are on a totally different level. The Vuju technique is so powerful it was forbidden from using it in combat.
Is that
The
Master
TLDR
Yi?
version of the story is that when Noxus invaded Ionia, Master Yi obliterated
Oh.
entire Noxian legions on his own.
Sick.
Before Noxians realized how overpowered he was, and they nuked the town where the Vuju Blade Masters were trained. So
Oh.
now there is no more Vuju Blade Masters, just normal Blade Masters.
Oh, I feel
And
so
lastly,
bad.
the
I got so
common warrior
excited.
in Bilgewater would be a brawler. You
Yeah.
see, I just
Just-
named
just a
8
guy.
different kinds of warriors.
Oh my gosh, that
How
was
is Riot
fantastic.
going to handle this? I don't know. They could just make one warrior class and then just have the players play out the fantasy while wearing cool armor sets.
Yeah.
Or they could make it so that every origin has a different skin of the class.
Yeah.
You know, all the abilities would be the same, they would be doing the same numbers, but when a Noxian swings a weapon, there is a bloody trail, and when
Yeah.
an Iceborne Berserk swings a weapon, there is a frosty effect.
It also depends
But
what,
again,
like,
this
how
is
you
for
do your
Riot to
weapons, you
figure
know
out.
what I mean?
Now
like,
I'm just going to show
you could do
all
different
the
sort of
unique and
weapon
interesting
types.
classes from this
Like,
universe.
if you're a warrior in the
Demacia, we
Freljord,
have the
ice
Mage
weapon.
Seekers. These are the people who hunt down mages.
Mage
They carry with
Seekers.
them a stone disc called the Grey Mark. This is the
Grey
tool that
Mark.
allows them to absorb magic.
Oh.
So this would be sort of an anti-magic class.
Yeah.
There are also a lot of iconic Demacian scouts. Also, Demacia has a lot of stories about theaters and bards. But Demacia
Bards.
also
Oh,
brought
bard would
spotlight
be
onto
sick.
the Sentinels. The Sentinels of
Sentinels?
Light are people
Oof.
dedicated to fighting the undead. Because
Yeah.
the undead can't really be killed with normal weapons. They use the relic stones that can be forged into any weapon. Be it a crossbow, a gun, a really big gun, or
Anything.
even a sword.
Cool.
Fun fact, in the lore, the Sentinel guns don't have triggers. You
Oh my
have to
gosh.
will it to fire with every fiber of your body. So of
Interesting.
course, Lucian canonically fired it with his PP. Lastly,
Oh my gosh.
this will be unknown to even veteran League players.
Really?
But Demacia put a really cool twist onto the Paladin class. You
Did
see,
they-
in League of Legends, when you play as Garen, his
Yeah.
ultimate is to smite his enemies with a giant holy blade.
Yes,
This
which
makes
seems like
people
magic.
Wonder, is Garen a mage?
Yeah,
in
right?
Demacia? Actually, no. In the lore,
Okay.
Garen has never done anything even similar to this.
Okay.
And that's because there is something even cooler happening.
He's a paladin?
Most people in Demacia pray to the aspect of justice, which they call the
Oh.
Winged Protector. That's
That's
why
cool.
Demacia has a lot of angelic statues. Coincidentally,
Interesting.
the aspect of justice can also be found in League. Scale.
Oh,
So
hi,
what's
Kale.
happening is that
You
when
scare me
Garen
on
is
the
casting
battlefield.
his ultimate, it is not him magically creating a holy blade in the sky. It is
It's
actually
Kale?
the aspect of justice answering his call. So
Interesting.
even though this universe
He
doesn't
sends out a
really
big
have
prayer.
a paladin class, which would be casting holy spells, this would be a really cool alternative.
A prayer
People
class.
who worship the aspect of justice and let her answer their calls. Pretty cool, but now let's
Like,
move
knight-
on to
instead of
Noxus.
paladin, they could be like the
Noxians
Knights of
are
Justice.
one of the only regions who harvest black powder, so they also have their own mercenaries with functional guns.
Black
In
powder.
Noxus, you can also find a lot of demonic cultists,
Oh,
so
yeah,
I
love.
would expect a warlock or a demon summoner. And
Oh,
they
that's
also have a
cool.
few
Summoners
renowned
are
assassin
amazing.
guilds. And
Assassins
the most
are also
unique
really
of them
cool.
all, Noxus also has a circle of hemomancers, people who
Oh my
follow
gosh.
Vladimir, a lord who
Interesting.
used to be a hostage to the Darkin, and who eventually learned how to use their blood magic.
Blood
so
magic.
these
Oh,
people
that's
use
sick.
the very same blood magic that shaped the Darkin. Then
Ooh.
in Shurima, we may find arcane
Shurima.
mages. These people follow Zerath, the most powerful mage on Runeterra.
I do
whose
love
body has
Zerath.
been reduced to nothing but arcane energy. I would honestly love to see this class in-game, because
Yes,
I
that
love
would
the
be
idea
cool.
of having an Archon form on cooldown. Shurima
And
also
also
has
a
some
lightning
prophets
mage.
who can open up tiny portals into the void and summon tiny void creatures. It would be sort of like Warlock in WoW. You know, use the
Cool.
power of the enemy against themselves. Then there are the sand
I mean, it would be
shifters,
cool to watch.
people who
Sand
can use the
shifters?
sand to create sand mirror images.
Oh,
And
I
we
was gonna
can't
say, is that
forget
like
about the
Talia? But that's
chronomancers,
rocks.
people who use time magic in a lot of creative, interesting ways.
Echo?
Then in Piltover, riding off of the success of Arcane, people will want to play as a warden, which is a more
we just
elite
wanna
version of
we
the
wanna be a cop.
Enforcers. These would be equipped with sniper rifles and stun grenades.
Oh, everyone
On the
loves a
crafty
sniper.
side, there are also the Hextech engineers. These are the
Hextech,
people
that would be
who can
sick.
use science
Imagine
to
building a
allow them
mech.
to wield magic even if they are not mages. And separate from them, there are also the artificers.
Oh my
To
god.
them, anything from a powerful
Yeah, your
arm
mech.
to blade legs should be possible.
Wow,
And
Piltover is
down
like
in
so
Zone,
opposite
I would
to
love to see some kind of an
Demacia.
alchemist who's using questionable drugs to help his
Oh,
allies.
Alchemist is
Next
sick.
we go
An
into the
Alchemist is so
Freljord.
fun.
Here we can find the Draklorn Inquisitors, which are Lysandra's followers with abilities themed around true ice. Essentially,
ice.
these would be frost battle mages. But perhaps the most
Cool.
iconic for the Freljord would be the Shamans. These worship the
Shamans.
animalistic primal gods of the Freljord, and all their abilities mimic
that
the primal gods.
Uric or
be it
Udia?
a bear,
Udia,
a fox,
possibly.
a mammoth, or a boar. Then
Oh,
on
sick.
Dargon, we would find a lot of people with celestial powers. You know, calling down stars and such. But there are also the Solari, who use the power of the sun to enhance their
sun.
attacks. They also wear massive plated armor, so
Yeah,
this
and they
would
look
be the
really
tank
cool.
class. Or the
Semi-paladin-esque.
Lunari, who use the power of the moon to stay in the shadows.
Yeah,
this
you're
would be
assassin.
more of an assassin class.
Amazing.
Besides these, there are also a lot of star callers around, and even draconic worshippers. Then in
Ooh.
Ionia,
Dragon
besides
summoners?
the Buju Blade Masters, which would be far too overpowered, some
You
people
could limit
choose to
them.
fight without a blade. These would be
The monk.
the monks of Hirana.
Cool.
They channel the power of Ionian dragons to empower their limbs.
Ooh,
And
that's
don't
sick.
worry, they are a bit different from the traditional monks. They are far more badass.
Yeah.
Think less Bruce Lee and more Dragon Ball. But of course,
Cool.
Ionia is also home to the Kinku ninjas. Their goal is to maintain balance in Ionia. This
And I
means
feel like
that
you
when a
could definitely
spirit
have
starts killing
ninjas and
people,
assassins.
The ninjas go out and deal with the spirit. And when people
just depends
start
how many
terrorizing
classes
the
they'd actually
spirits,
want.
The ninjas go out and deal with the people. Most of these are your classic ninjas empowered with spiritual magic. But some are using the forbidden
Ooh,
shadow
sick.
technique. And while they surely look evil, just
And
like
surely you could
anything
even
in
have
League
like
of Legends,
your
it's
ninja
not
class
really
and then your
one-sided.
subclasses
These
to
ninjas
completely
are
be
simply
different.
using questionable techniques to protect their
I wonder.
homeland.
I don't think
And
you could go into
honestly, the Shadow
subclasses
Ninjas
without
are
taking
so iconic
60
for
more
Ionia,
minutes.
I really do believe they will be playable. Then we get to Bilgewater. Besides all the
Bilgewater.
things that you could do with pirates and monster hunters, the
Yeah.
most iconic class of this place are the priests of Buru. The
Priests
Buru
of
worship the
Buru.
god of motion called Nagake Boros. While they
Oh,
are
cool.
priests, they fight with full physical strength, while
Interesting.
borrowing power from the god to empower themselves.
Okay.
Usually this means the god spawns tentacles to smack the enemies around.
Is that Alawi?
But they also have healing powers, so that would be a
Interesting.
really cool support class. In Riot's RPG called Ruined King, you can play as Ilawi, the high priestess of
Ilawi.
Nagake Boros. And there you can see all the attacks she can pull off. And this takes us to the last place, Ishtal, which will most likely be
Ishtal.
saved for an expansion. As I
Yes.
mentioned in the last video, Ishtal specializes in only one thing: elemental magic.
Elemental
So
magic,
if
that would be
elemental
sick.
mages become a class, and they should, even in League, elemental dragons are a core mechanic. They would come from Ishtal.
That would be
But
cool as...
that's it for all the
I just
unique
want to
classes
become
this
Milio.
universe has to offer. Funnily enough, when I was drafting all these classes, I realized a lot of them fall under specific categories.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
going with
So they're
this
like, they
skin
can all be
idea for all the
subclasses.
classes wouldn't be too unreasonable. But developing so many artistic variations of the classes would be taxing. So overall, I believe Riot should not care about disappointing some players for not including their favorite class.
True,
With so many
definitely.
options, it's going to happen anyway. Instead, pick a couple of classes that simply make sense for you.
I
You know,
wanna
a
see
Blade
his
Master
thought
here,
of
an Arcane Mage there, and just
subclasses.
have fun. Having fun during development usually translates into great experiences. And I hope I'm not pressuring anyone by stirring up hype. If anything, I'm just happy that people find these videos interesting.
Oh,
And all
I do.
I'm doing
I
is
really
presenting
enjoy them.
information that Riot released over the past 10 years. I mean,
You
I know
have
the
just
video
done a
is
good job.
interesting because Asmon only paused 3 times and he said,
That's fucking cool.
and,
I like it a lot.
and,
What the fuck? This is actually really cool. I didn't know any of this.
that to me marks a big success.
Oh my gosh.
Next time, we are going to talk about all the already established raid bosses of this
Yes,
universe.
the raid bosses
Which
is...
is a very personal topic for me.
That'll also
You know,
be next
I am a
week.
father, my son is 2 years old.
Oh.
So by the time this MMO comes out, he's going to be just the right age to heal my raids.
Oh my gosh. And the right age to be playing. So, okay, well, before we'll go into the next one, but before we start the next one, A, fantastic video, B, so the only MMO, because I'm going to talk about, like, the lore was so, like, learning about all the different, like, people and, like, from different regions, and that, like, could be classes, and the way that their, like, warriors form and different, like, factions is really interesting, and seeing all the different races and who comes from where, and obviously the Ionian, like, houses were really cool to see. I love the thoughts. Obviously, I'm now just so excited for this game to come out, the MMO, but I feel like subclasses could be a really cool thing, because you had those, he had the overarching ones, and then you could, like, spec into different things. I don't know. I would love to know how they're actually doing this, because obviously this isn't Riot what they're doing, but God, it'll be cool to see whenever we, like, firstly get some, like, fun stuff to, like, learn about what's going on how they're doing their game. Will be really interesting. But we're going to go into the Vastaya, which is, we semi-covered in the last one, but I think this will just give us a bit more, which will be really cool, because it'll be great to see, like, more on, like, how they all work, and, like, why the humans decided that we're going to have sex with magical animals. I want to know. Oh my gosh.
Hello everyone,
hello.
and welcome. Recently, a Piltover explorer called Eduard Sant'Angelo traveled into the wilds
interesting.
of northern Ionia and discovered something unique.
Amazing.
An
What did he
ancient
discover?
race of chimeric beings known as the Vastaya. It is through his chronicle that we learn what he saw during his adventures.
And all the different houses.
So let's go through Eduard Sant'Angelo's Vastaya field journal.
Oh, love it. So this is probably lore that was released, maybe?
His story began by landing on the shores of Ionia. He traveled here with hopes of finding something more exciting than his everyday life in Piltover.
Oh,
These
yes.
Ionian
You
forests
would.
are mostly
You would definitely,
unexplored.
right?
Only the locals have some idea of what they might find here. Hoping to discover something beyond his imagination, Eduard stepped forward and began his trip into the unknown. And once he discovered the Vastaya, he knew he found what he was looking for. He met his first Vastayan creature in the dead of night, as
Ooh,
it
who would it
sneaked
be?
through his camp, eating whatever it could. It nearly sprinted away when Eduard woke up, but with the help of some sweet cakes and soothing singing, he convinced it to stay a while
We're gonna
in
become
his camp.
best friends.
Though it walked on 2 legs like a human, its features were a chimeric combination of several other creatures. It had long whiskers and pointed nose like a cat, the scales of a snake all over its body, and the physical
interesting.
strength of a Belgewodrian salt beast. which
Oh,
Edward
cool.
discovered when the creature lifted him above his head, looking for more sweet cake. The creature
Imagine.
fled into the darkness
You'd be a
shortly
little bit
thereafter,
scared.
and Edward knew what he had to do. Learn more about these Vastaya.
Yeah,
The
study the
following
people.
chapters focus on
Politely
the
and
different Vastaya
nicely
he
and
encountered
non-invasively.
in his travels across this mysterious continent. The origins of the Vastaya remain to be a mystery, but Edward has a theory that they are not an individual species, but a taxonomic classification more on par with a larger order or a phylum. Simply
Okay,
put,
fantastic.
while many Vastaya look similar to one another, the different tribes and familial groupings act
Tribes.
in drastically different ways.
That was the word
which
I was
he
looking
discovered
for.
after following the cat snake ape boy back to his village and being rudely chased away by his brethren.
Oh, gosh.
Perhaps they confused him for a spy or apex predator, which explains
Interesting.
why they followed him back to his camp and took everything he had.
Oh shit.
Days after his encounter with the Vastaya, Edward followed the Whispering River, so named by
Interesting.
himself because it was very loud. And like many sophisticates, he also had a penchant for irony. After a while, he
that's
found
good.
another village with entirely different tribe. These Vastaya had the squeezable furry
Oh.
faces of otters, but the
Oh,
longer
that's
grit of
adorable.
seals. After
And
he
butterfly
successfully
wings?
attempted to give them his glasses as a piece of offering, since many of the creatures carried bags full of shiny things,
Oh.
he tried to bond with them by saying,
They like
"I come in
riches.
peace and will do you no harm." Then he began an interpretive dance,
Oh.
which, to
Oh my
quote the
god.
description,
Hitting the Fortnite
this
dances.
particular jig was all about knee placement, and my patellas are positively pristine.
Oh, okay.
And
Good
to the surprise
for
of
you.
everyone, it was a success and his companions took him in and fed him a warm supper, which he
Oh,
described
interesting.
as slightly unraw, not quite fish.
Oh.
Though they did not speak during his bonding rituals,
They look like they have
later
butterfly
revealed,
wings.
upon politely requesting he pass them a cup of yellowish powder that smelled like salt and fire, that they spoke his language fluently.
Oh,
Their various
cool.
dialects were unfamiliar to him, but he could, with a little effort, understand exactly what they said.
Interesting.
As hungry for knowledge as he had previously been for food, Edward asked them about the history of their kind. He learned that the Vastaya's origins could be traced back long time ago, to a hidden
I wonder if
corner
there's,
of
like,
Ionia where a group of humans
first
fled
people.
to escape the horrors of the Great Void War.
Okay,
These
interesting.
refugees came into contact with a tribe of intelligent shape-shifting creatures who were greatly in tune with Ionia's natural magics. The
Cool.
pairing of these two groups produced the creatures he eventually learned to refer to as
Vastaya.
Vastaya. Over time, these creatures settled in variety of regions and therefore adapted their forms. From the winged
Oh,
humanoids
they
of
they
Ionia or the
changed in different
sand-shufflers of
places.
Shurima, to the Freljordian-scaled manatee with a look of perpetual discomfort on his face. Edward wanted to stay a bit longer and ask some
gosh.
more, but one of his questions seemed to cause great offense, and
Oh,
he
what
was
did he
abruptly
say?
ejected from the village.
What did he
His
ask them?
question, for those looking to avoid the same mistake, regarded whether the pairing of the two species was purely magical or more, let's say, physical in nature.
Oh, he's like,
Relieved of
did
both
they
his
fuck
supplies
or
and his
not?
calm, but never his thirst for adventure, he marched again in a different direction
Oh,
with
to meet
nothing
more
to protect
Vastaya.
him except for his multisyllabic vocabulary. Months passed and he learned to look for the right Ionian fruits and vegetables.
Oh, he learned to live on the land.
He marked time only by rising and setting of the sun, and happily forgot all the cumbersome Piltover habits to which he had become accustomed.
Oh, he's
However,
becoming
after
accustomed.
many days spent traveling across Ionia, he had developed something of a stench. So he
Oh.
paused, got rid of his clothes, of course after checking to make sure he was alone, since a gentleman never forces his own nudity upon others, and stepped into a nearby lake that smelled of berries and grass.
Oh my god, are there
It
gonna
was
be
there
people
that
in
he
the
saw
water?
the most wondrous thing he had ever seen his entire life.
Sexy.
Far more human than any Vastaya he had
Oh,
yet
a
seen.
cat girl.
This creature,
I didn't know if it was
bathing
gonna
on
be
the
like a
opposite
fish
shore,
girl.
had the ears and tails of a fox. She had no clothes.
Fox girl.
And Edward left his description vague so as not to offend his younger or more sensitive readers.
Oh gosh.
She was simply very much like a female human.
Oh my god.
Very. He caught but a glimpse of her
She
as
had
he
all
soaked
the
in
right
pond,
bits.
his mouth agape, water streaming down his body
His
as
mouth
he attempted
agape.
to come up with the perfect words
Other
of greeting.
bits
Soon,
really
however, a
poignant.
rustling in the brush behind him gave him a scare. He turned, but there was no threat brave enough to show itself. He turned back to find the glorious foxwoman was gone, leaving him with nothing but questions. The words, "Oh my
Leaving
love,
him
my dream,"
nothing but
prospective
questions
bedfellow,
and
bounced in his head while keeping his
seriously
embarrassed look.
solid.
The wrestler, whom Edward was determined to beat into bloody unconsciousness for scaring the love of his life away, turned out to be a human merchant from a distant
Oh,
village who sold
interesting.
ginger fruit. An apparent delicacy he chose not to taste as he was uncertain he would resist the temptation to smash one into his smiling face. The merchant's
God.
name was Shy, and he told Edward that bathing there wasn't the smartest decision. Apparently, the foxwoman, who was sometimes known to bathe there, would be hazardous to his health. So Edward informed him that sneaking
Okay.
up on naked admiring men would be far more hazardous to his. But Shy merely laughed. After he dressed up again, the merchant agreed to lead him back into human civilization and answer few of his questions.
Oh, is there like a
in
human
exchange
colony?
for his head. He informed Edward that his family had known this strange woman for generations. She, just like the other Vastaya, have far longer lives
I was
than
gonna say
humans.
she doesn't age,
Some
but she
say
ages
they
slowly.
can live for thousands of years, and some even
Thousands,
say they may
fuck.
be immortal. It was Shai who informed him about their Ionian name, the Vastaya. Up to this point, Edward called them the Phantasma. He really liked
Phantasma.
that name, but he changed all his previous mentions purely out of cultural empathy.
Yes,
They
thank
walked
you.
together for several days, stop and sniff the air like a bloodhound. When Edward asked him about his behavior, he merely smiled and told him he was looking for treasures. These stops
Interesting.
slowly infuriated him, and eventually they led him to a thought which he immediately shared with Shai. If Vastaya were the amalgamation of humans and ancient shape-shifting ancestors, then what would happen if dead blood were to become extremely diluted through reproductive diaspora? What
Oh.
if, say, one had Vastayan blood but not quite enough to take chimeric animalian form? What would happen then?
Interesting.
It was then
You could
that
just have
Shai stopped
heightened
sniffing
abilities?
and his eyes widened. He looked at him, smiled, and said, "Well, they'd be able to change their shape, wouldn't they?" Before the bastard
Oh.
turned into a pig and unearthed a silk truffle.
Oh my
Edward
god.
couldn't believe he met
He's
an
a
actual
shapeshifter.
shapeshifter and 3 different kinds of Vastaya in only few months. He
That's
couldn't
really
help but
cool.
note, however, that transforming Pigman was a considerable step down from Curvaceous Foxwoman. At this rate, the next
like, "You are not
Vastayan
as
creature
hot."
he sees could likely resemble a walking roach. He spent the
God.
last
Bugs
several
would
months
be a
scouring
lot.
Ionia for any information on the Vastaya species, in an attempt to create a taxonomic guide to Runeterra and its fauna. Though he collected an incredible amount of information on the Vastaya,
Didn't get enough.
there is much left to be discovered. But for now,
Interesting.
it was time to move on. Edward wanted to focus on other creatures of Runeterra. Those horrifying sentient weapons known as Darkin, the corrupting creatures of the Void,
The void.
those elusive
Yikes.
fey creatures of legend, the Yordles. You can rest assured, Edward
God, he's got so much
Santangelo
more
will be here
work
to
to
tell their
do.
stories. Weeks after submitting these stories to his editor, Edward embarked on an unofficial return trip to Ionia to
find
in
the
his
fox
words,
woman.
ask further questions of the fox-like woman, purely for the purpose of a second
No,
edition.
he wants
However,
to
Edward was kidnapped
fuck.
by a tribe who called themselves the Knavery Brotherhood. He was able to convince them not to execute him instantly,
Oh god,
but
yeah.
he sent a letter asking his editor to send back all the profits made with his book. So the
Interesting.
editor sent what he requested, a handful of pocket change and a spoiled sweet cake. But they have not heard back from him since.
Oh. Oh,
And
he might be
that was the
dead.
story of Edward Santangelo, the guy who
'Cause he's
potentially got
gone.
kidnapped by the newly teased champion. If
Oh
you enjoyed
God.
this video, feel free to click the like below.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Necrit. Wow. The like learning about all this stuff is so fun. I like the way obviously he's telling the story of the story that's been told about the story. but the Vestaya is sick. Like, just the characters in the game that are Vestaya are really cool, and then thinking about the MMO and the possibilities of the Vestaya there is also really amazing. I don't know, it's just like. And, like, especially, it helps, like, getting really into playing Nico recently. Just having that as a part of it, as a shapeshifter and a Vestaya is really cool. I don't know, it's just, the way they've done this lore and this area in Ionia is really cool and really interesting. And I know apparently we've heard earlier that there are too many Ionian characters, but I can see why, because they've got a really cool thing going on. Lots of different, like, you've got like the swords people, and then like the ninjas, and then the Vestaya there, which are also amazing and so different from everything else. But seeing all the different like races and classes and who's where and who's what, was just really cool to learn about, and I really enjoyed it. I love the way he, like, yeah, he said, you know, I'm just telling the stuff that they've released over the past 10 years, but it's really done so well, and he's putting it all together, and he's collecting all that information, making it easier for someone like me who's new to learn the lore, which is just fantastic. So we can learn some lore, which is so fun. And wow, Vestaya, they are really sick. But yeah, next week, I can't wait to learn more about, talk about the raid bosses, which I think would be really cool. I think it would be cool. Now this is, we're learning about the MMO, series, but, I think it would be cool to learn about the raid bosses and big characters and big, strong characters of the universe. Then after that, maybe we'll play some different things. Maybe I'll compile some clips. Maybe I'll just play a game and narrate it and talk about it. I don't know. Let me know if I did do any gameplay. What I would like to see. Or we could do, what was it called? The Ruined King or something event, or things like that. Though I don't know how it works, so do let me know. And I still want to do my fun tier list of supports. I think that would be dumb and really cool. So I've got to start on that, or start compiling stuff on that anyway. But for now, I just hope you enjoyed and are having a great day, and I hope to see you in the next one.